don't mean to be a snitch, but Team Clark members were there for that. This Kelsey Plum dig went viral, and it did a pretty strange thing. Could have caused some agitation among Kayla Clark and her all-star squad. However, that was absurd. Kelsey Plum embodies both the sore winner and the sore loser. Our goal is to blast them away. We are much superior than them. For Kelsey, it was just not a wise move, got to have said Plum. Caitlin Clark, it's obvious that it doesn't matter what you do. You are disliked by them. She assumed it was a joke, but things changed when Kelsey Plum made fun of Caitlin Clark in a live news conference. She was irritated by that Ionescu, attempting to lighten the situation. All right? However, I believe it was just a matter of us all aligning with the game. Not to refrain from tattletale, although none of the Clark team members were there for it. It was absurd, was evident. From Sabrina's response, supporters were incensed, and Kelsey is already facing criticism for her attempt to degrade the league's leading female player. This one revealed everything, so if you're riding with Caitlin Clark, leave a 100% in the comments. The person driving the numbers is Caitlin Clark. Cece, you are loved. One individual in this league that the owners see money signals as she enters the building and the room. Only one individual is present, and her name is Caitlin Clark. It was meant to be a demonstration of solidarity. Pay us what you owe us. Shirts are worn by WNBA All-Star players as they take the floor. In the midst of contentious CBA talks, the synchronized message on the shirts said, "Pay us what you owe us." However, in a few minutes, that one statement from Kelsey Plum caused the message to fall apart. Let's examine the pointless blow that Kelsey Plum had to deliver to Caitlin Clark and the Clark team. Really unneeded. Plum casually said the statement, while standing next to Sabrina Ionescu during a news briefing. No Team Clark members were around for it. Not to be a snitch, not to disparage tattletale, but none of Team Clark was very there for it. I don't mean to be a jerk, but Team Clark's Zero Me members were there for it. The air changed as soon as she finished speaking, as if she couldn't believe what had just been uttered aloud. Sabrina's face froze into obvious discomfort, her eyes darting toward Plum in shock. The timing, not simply the remark, was what caused the event to be so startling. Kelsey was able to split the crowd on a night that was supposed to be a demonstration of unity. You declare that there are no members. Caitlin Clark was present from the squad. How do you all look today, in your opinion? They came onto the court wearing these pitiful shirts. The irony was astounding. She openly singled out Caitlin Clark's whole all-star squad as no-shows during CBA negotiations while cameras were filming, just moments after calling it a united front. The harm was instantaneous, regardless of whether it was a joke gone wrong or a deliberate jab. Gamers, at least, we were unaware that would occur. In my opinion, that was a true surprise. But the t-shirt merely unified front was decided this morning, and we held a meeting for that. I don't want to be a snitch, but none of the members of Team Clark were here. But we just had a very important thing to convey. I'm attempting to lighten the situation. All right? However, I believe it was just a matter of us all aligning with the game. The sports community saw it as a subtle but incisive humiliation of the greatest star in the league, Caitlin Clark. Critics jumped right in. How can someone assert togetherness while at the same time criticizing the one player? Set the league's record-breaking ratings. However, the Indiana fever is what we're watching. In particular, we're observing Caitlin Clark, sales of tickets, and products. The fact that Caitlin Clark had worn the blouse made it much more mysterious. Those t-shirts would be worn by the players. Caitlin was one of the players on Team Clark that donned the t-shirts. On the court, she backed the cause. What use did it serve to reveal that she and her co-workers had missed an impromptu, unplanned morning meeting? Insiders claim that the meeting was hastily organized only a few hours before the tip-off. It wasn't necessary. We are aware that it was only a chance encounter. Team Clark was among the several players who were completely unaware of it. However, Kelsey's wording gave the impression that they didn't care, and it is the root of the issue. Kelsey caused a firestorm by bringing Clark's name into the public. In this manner. I believe it was inappropriate to make a joke at that moment. Dude, it's not the right moment to joke. You're attempting to convey a serious message. After all, exactly prior to that, you said, yeah, we are a one united front. Therefore, if you guys one unified front, you don't have to list who attended the morning meeting. It wasn't required. For this reason, I'm saying, bro, that she should simply let these women sort it out for themselves. Fans thought it was very petty and unappreciative, particularly considering Clark's contribution to the league's revival. One instance that ought to have shown solidarity instead turned into a sign of disunity. Additionally, while despite Kelsey's belief that it was lighthearted banter, Sabrina's response and the outrage of the public seemed to indicate otherwise. This was more than a media blunder. It was an unsuccessful warning shot. No Team Clark members were around for it. Not to be a snitch. Not only was Kelsey Plum's remark inappropriate, it was a fire caused by gasoline. The internet exploded within hours after the news conference. Former players, fans, and commentators took to all platforms to criticize what they saw as an unwarranted passive-aggressive jab at the one player who has contributed more to the WNBA in 6 months than the majority of players have in years. The criticism wasn't mild. #Up started trending in support of Caitlin Clark. Plum's remarks was criticized by thousands of fans in the comments section of the All-Star highlight posts, who called it selfish, envious, and the reason the WNBA lacks togetherness. She was even likened to Megan by others, Rappo, for what they refer to as the rising unlikability factor, not for skill. Due to her unlikability stemming from her polarizing remarks at pivotal league occasions, she is approaching Megan Rapinoe territory. No one was laughing, even if Plum may have attempted to make it seem like a comedy. Nor were sports commentators. Silent. Numerous people pointed out how ridiculous it was to single out Caitlin Clark when she ways increased the audience by more than 200%. Lead the league in jersey sales and increased demand for tickets in every stadium. And this is factual information, not conjecture. All-Star ticket prices fell by 50% only because of Caitlin. The person driving the numbers is Caitlin Clark. When it was revealed that Caitlin Clark not be competing because of her injury, we saw the ticket prices plummet by 50%. After it was declared that she would not be playing because of an injury. Our goal is to blast them away. We are much superior than them. I'm sorry to say that. We were given stud bud. Team stud? Do you understand what I mean? We're simply enjoying ourselves? Then it isn't hype. It has a direct effect on the market. No, not to the extent of a media rights agreement of $260 million annually. Even media personalities who usually remain silent on WNBA scandals were obliged to voice their opinions. It was best expressed by one expert. Why would anybody attempt to make fun of the one person who provided you advantage in this negotiation, much less another player? You wouldn't be at this table at all without Caitlin. Both the victors and the losers are bitter. Kelsey Plum is both too. Another likened it to a player at the NFL Pro Bowl yelling at Patrick Mahomes during a protest staged by the players. Inane, polarizing, and very short-sighted. The receipts that supporters dug up were more revealing than words. The history of Clark is obvious. She supported league causes. The garment is worn by her. Even though it wasn't about her, she showed therefore the message. Indeed, subsequent reports verified that the Clark team's players did not attend the meeting, not in protest, but because it was thrown, they came together quickly, and because attendance was optional, some of them were unaware that it was taking place. At 10 a.m., they conducted an impromptu meeting that no one was aware of. Nevertheless, Kelsey Plum decided to draw attention to their absence, crafting a story that suggested Caitlin didn't give a damn. and that inference caught on like wildfire. Supporters of the WNBA's response went beyond simple indignation. If it was fatigue, two Dodd fans have endured backhanded remarks in interviews, saw Caitlin Clark take cheap shots on the court, and now watched her be pulled into turmoil on what should have been a celebratory evening for weeks. It was enough. A lot of admirers started to express something more profound. A belief that Caitlin Clark is being blamed for something. Why is she disparaging Clark? Man, I don't understand. I don't understand. Why would she say it at all? Was of no assistance. There was no need in mentioning that. When it's handy, she's the league's golden ticket. When others need to divert or deflect, she's a punching bag. When she is in charge of over 55% of the company, you go and criticize her after she joined you all to put up a united front. Not even other gamers were exempt from fallout. Others, such as Sabrina Ionescu, immediately disassociated themselves from the remark via body language and a conspicuous absence of follow-up. She did not chuckle. She did not give a nod. She protested silently but effectively by staring at Kelsey in disbelief. It turned into the screenshot that was circulated online. When Sabrina stated it for the first time, you saw her face with an angry and irritated expression. Sabrina said, "Why would you say that?" This incident revealed divisions in a league that is pleading for togetherness that go well beyond a single news conference. What many had been wondering for weeks was expressed by creators, fans, and even new WNBA followers. Drama isn't why we came here. Caitlin is the reason we came here. And it's the unsettling reality that some seasoned players may find difficult to accept. The NBA subsidizes your league, which has no revenue. It's no coincidence that money, ratings, and sponsorships have increased. It isn't dispersed around the league. Caitlin Clark is here. Imagine if every player in the Pro Bowl puts on a united front for something by wearing shirts. In the post-game news conference, Josh Allen then says, "Oh boy, by the way, Mahomes had nothing to do with it." This is true. They are aware that they have the potential to benefit. Therefore, Kelsey Plum's remark didn't seem to be petty, seemed to be self-destroying. You wish you were the center of attention, but you're not. It gives the impression that you are weak in several areas. You've highlighted a few weak points. Whether Kelsey intended it or not is not the subject at hand. The reason why she did so is the question. Feel compelled to express it. She made the decision to split the league on a night when it might have come together in a room full of cameras. And she revealed something far more harmful than making Caitlin appear awful. It's being saved by the league's internal strife and incapacity to defend the star. Even after all that transpired, Caitlin Clark herself says, "Thanks for the Nike ad." Like nothing this was taken personally. The loudest message is often seen rather than heard. Additionally, in this instance, Sabrina Ionescu's face during Kelsey Plum's press conference. The 1,000 words could never express what Gaff said. Not to be a snitch, but none of the members of Team Clark were there when Plum spoke those now famous comments. It was all captured on camera. Kelsey attempted to dismiss it with humor. She didn't grin. However, Sabrina, she did not give a nod. She refused to comply. Rather, she froze, a blank gaze constricting her features. Despite her reaction, Sabrina's eyes were fixed on Kelsey as if she had just seen someone toss a match into a room full of gasoline. "What did you just say?" she said, not even sure how to accept it. "What in the world?" she asks. And for that one instant revealed to the millions of people watching just where Sabrina stood. She wasn't just taken by surprise. She was clearly disappointed. The fact that Sabrina's response wasn't pre-planned is what gives it such impact. There was no plan. It was instinct. And the first reaction was to retreat from the mayhem Kelsey had caused. You should have come out when you saw Sabrina Ionescu's face like that. She was irritated by it. To her credit, she was irritated by it. She was now on Clark's side. This was more than simply a response to a clumsy remark. It was a response to treachery. Because Sabrina realized at that point that the topic of discussion had shifted from solidarity, shirts, and collective bargaining. Caitlin Clark was being pulled into something she didn't deserve once again. One of the few players in the league that has continuously shown popular support for Caitlin. She has praised her, trained with her, and apparently even participated in continuing discussions to bring Caitlin to New York. I am aware that for the last 2 weeks or so, Sabrina has been luring Caitlin to New York. That press conference made it quite evident that Sabrina's attitude has been different from others, who have accepted backhanded compliments or subtle barbs. She refused to co-sign what had just transpired, and she didn't have to speak to let the world know. In fact, her reaction caught the attention of admirers right away. GIFs, discussion, and screenshots were all over social media. It was all in Sabrina's face. She disagreed. It was visible to you. It was even dubbed the year's death gaze by some. And a breach was exposed by that gaze, between the participants themselves, as well as between Caitlin and a few of her classmates. This is when it becomes more profound. Several accounts claim that Sabrina wasn't the only one who was disturbed. Word got out that there were a lot of people in the league. Privately, even some who remained silent expressed frustration with Kelsey's handling of the matter. It's enormous. I would say, well, that chance to interact and, in a sense, serve as an inspiration and role model for a large number of young children who are traveling the globe. I've heard a lot of young people speak about how they traveled from Australia, New Zealand, or other places to attend All-Star Weekend and get to engage with their favorite players, who they often only see on TV or social media. Additionally, I think the W does a fantastic job of having players turn up and serve as that role model, because we all recognize the significance of importance of it, because we were once those little children, in order to continue demonstrating what a fantastic league we play in. I would say that I'm most pleased of the fact that every single player takes time in their hectic schedules to attend, whether it's at Debut Live or somewhere else. For Kelsey, this was more than simply a humiliating incident. At a time when the league is finally getting traction, attracting fans, and being considered seriously, it was detrimental. Sabrina understood from away that one poorly timed remark would transform the All-Star limelight into a PR catastrophe. Her response's context is also important. The league is now engaged in difficult discussions for a collective bargaining agreement. The purpose of the shirts was to convey to the public and ownership that WNBA players were united in their requests for improved conditions and compensation. The public's perspective, unity, strength, and purpose are all crucial to that message. However, Kelsey's comments destroyed that perception. Despite your desire to come together, you disregarded Team Clark and Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark's squad was singled out, giving the impression that there were divisions, that certain people weren't true comrades in the battle, and worse, that Caitlin Clark wasn't interested. That story is damaging in addition to being untrue. You are attempting to discuss a matter as important as your message to the owners, the rest of the league, and others. Man, you want to be careful not to make fun of your coworkers when you joke. Give the impression that they are uninterested in the message. Caitlin Clark has advocated for the league in a strong manner. The shirts are worn by her. She has discussed these topics with the media. Just by sharing the court, she has contributed to other athletes becoming more well-known. Therefore, to discreetly portray her as disengaged, whether on purpose or not from, the cause was detrimental to the movement's legitimacy as well as Caitlin's reputation. Sabrina knew it right away, and the majority of people missed this. Even though Sabrina was just a few feet away from Kelsey, she refrained from interjecting to soften or explain the statement. She didn't spin it. She made no attempt to assist. Rather, she let Kelsey to sit quietly, a quiet that spoke 1,000 words. Rena doesn't understand what you're saying, attempting to lighten the situation. All right? But, well, no, I believe it. Come on, dude. Hurry up. The t-shirt simply called United Front was decided this morning that we had a meeting for, so I believe it was a real surprise. United Front is who we are. United Front is where we are. You don't have to attempt to find out who was and wasn't present, as if you all needed media training. There was no denying the tension in that quiet. It was the sound of a teammate understanding that a moment of vanity had just ruined the league's future. The effect was further heightened by what transpired next. Fans started assembling a larger image after the press conference by unearthing more video game clips, mic'd up situations, and earlier interviews. Kelsey Plum has a reputation for being assertive and talkative, was now being regarded as someone whose self-assurance had turned into conceit. In the meanwhile, Sabrina's stock increased in silence. She could have supported Caitlyn without shouting it out. She did not have to go into a tirade on social media. In that 10-second clip, her expression informed the world, "I'm not part of this." You could see how Sabrina looks at her as soon as she says it. "What are you saying?" she asks. As she's saying that, she's staring at her and asks, like, what? In the middle of a press presentation, she is staring at her deathly. As in, what's going on? What is going on here? And Caitlin Clark continues to be professional, elegant, and quiet. She did not retaliate. She didn't answer. She didn't need to, since she had already won the case in the court of public opinion. I believe that just 10 or so gamers really dislike Caitlyn. Much of this is due to Sabrina's silent but effective decline. Ultimately, this was more than a news conference. It served as a picture of the WNBA's current situation. A top player is being tugged in all directions by a league in transition. But a few voices, like Sabrina's, are standing strong and reminding everyone what true leadership looks like. In the most important times, not in words. Additionally, those who despise Caitlin Clark are using it as an excuse to despise Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Plum could have assumed it was a lighthearted joke or a throwaway remark. What she set off, however, was far more significant. A moment that revealed the league's weaknesses and made everyone aware of who is really keeping it afloat. Caitlin Clark didn't reply because she didn't have to. Her game does the talking. Her influence is evident. And now, more than ever, the fans are speaking out. Because the fans turn out when one reckless line attempts to destroy the league's reputation. Players like Sabrina are the ones that talk without uttering a word while their colleagues remain mute. And Caitlyn maintains her composure and continues to rise when the focus becomes unflattering. The message is really obvious. The light that is already there cannot be dimmed. Change the league. And each time someone makes an attempt, they simply serve to highlight why Caitlin Clark is the star of the show and the one the WNBA sorely needs. Why was this necessary for her to say? Why was this necessary for her to say? Nothing was to be achieved there. There was unquestionably nothing to gain other than bringing hate on 13 players.